So, but right now I would say Apple, Apple Podcasts and Spotify are the two biggest ones people use, but there's so many devices. People listen to Google Podcasts. They use Spreaker or
and Spreaker.
iHeartRadio.
You used to be really big on Spreaker. Is that something that is catered to analyzing podcasts? Like I see you're on that a lot.
Yeah, so Spreaker is the host site.
Or as a matter of fact, let me back it up a little bit while we're on here. We're going to veer off from the attention to the Limelight highlight and just podcasts in general, because I feel like a lot of people are still new to this. Some people may be listening because they enjoy your story. Some people may just be listening for the support. And let's get them to be educated a little bit about how far podcasts have come. You mentioned that Joe Rogan deal. And can you speak to how groundbreaking that is and what that really means for the growth of podcasts?
Yeah, so podcasts have been around for a long time. Not a lot of people understand what a podcast is, even today, with how popular it's been. But Joe Rogan, I mean, he's got one of the most popular podcasts of all time. And I don't even know what category to put him in, other than he just has very long conversations with very interesting people, and they talk about all types of things. And most of the time he gets some really good subject matter experts on there. But podcasting in itself, the fact that he got this Spotify deal, so he's basically soon to be exclusive only on Spotify, which means the millions of downloads that he gets, the millions of followers that listen to he's built a cult following, and to have that reach, like people know him from.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, people may not know the name Joe Rogan offhand, but you've seen him on Fear Factor, you've seen him in UFC hosting, you've seen him on stages on Comedy Central as a comedian, and now this man has made his career, all his bones, in podcasting.
Yeah. And he's just a great, I mean, granted, he's been doing it for so long. It's definitely something that he's worked on and gotten better. He even says it himself, in the early days, they used to just, bullshit on the podcast and have fun. And essentially that's still kind of what he does, but he just does it in a much more articulate way with very interesting people that I know. For me, like I'll listen to one of his podcasts and he's got Mike Tyson on. It's like, dude, when do you ever, I mean, besides Mike Tyson's own podcast, but before that,
which isn't that good.
Yeah. But before that, when would you ever actually hear Mike Tyson have a 3-hour conversation?
In such a raw platform too. Like Joe Rogan puts it to where it's a very intimate conversation. Everything is said within a form of comfort. It's, he's building everything up for you.
So that was kind of my goal with the podcast when I first started it. I wanted it to be a Joe Rogan-like experience in the sense of just people doing positive things where I just talk to them on hours on end. But I realized that's not really, I mean, everybody's got their lane. And as much as I love talking to people, I don't think I could do it for 3 hours constantly every week, week in and week out. And the thing I admire about Joe Rogan is that he has multiple guests multiple times per week. He doesn't have like, hey, I'm going to release an episode every day here or this specific day. Watch out for this. It just drops whenever he's done doing one. And just to go back to your question, with podcasting it's just grown so much that Spotify has signed an exclusive deal with Joe, a multi-million dollar.
It was about $300 million that Joe Rogan's going to get over the term of this. And that went in, just to speak to how progressive podcasts are and what it means to the industry of culture, I guess. Spotify made like $1 billion in stocks right after that deal was announced. So what they paid him ended up being nothing in the grand scheme because their stock went through the roof immediately after.
And that just goes to show you the weight of words and the influence one person can have just on an essentially unregulated space.
Which is the best thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a free roam area.
Absolutely. So it's that I don't know if I'd ever get to that point. I mean, I'd love to.
Don't doubt it.
I'm not down with myself, but
expand this every day.
Yeah, for sure. So I just listening to podcasts, I really wanted to get into it, and the way things are going, people are especially now with the pandemic, everybody's at home. Everybody's getting tired of watching the same thing over and over again. There's no new. You've been here, and we've been watching in San Diego, and we've been watching music videos, but essentially it starts to become just the same music videos over and over again because nobody's curating new content because they can't be in person with everybody. Everybody's restricted, so more people are expanding their horizons on what to entertain themselves with, and podcasting happens to be one of those things that you can just pop in your ears, and you can work from home, you can work out, go on a run, you can just do damn near anything productive and listen and educate yourself or entertain yourself listening to a podcast.
And for the host, it's something that is seriously able to be monetized. When you look at Joe Rogan, when you look at Charlamagne the God and his new deal with iHeartMedia, where he has an 18 podcast network, 18 shows, different shows under his network. And this is something that, obviously Limelight Highlight can grow to, whether it being on a big platform, making, advertisement revenue and things of that nature. But it's just such a growing platform that people should pay attention sooner than later, because the Limelight Highlight podcast can really blow up to where you might be able to get on it today, but when you're interviewing Justin Timberlake next year, don't expect, that Joe Schmo from down the street's going to be able to get on.
Yeah, and I really like it gives me a lot of hope in a sense, because it's I always keep in the back of my mind, as frustrated as I might get with me not being able to grow my audience, or how slowly some things are coming, whether it's followers on Instagram or whatever social media, whether the platform itself that I'm trying to build up, no matter how long it takes and how frustrated I get sometimes, it gives me, I always keep in the back of my mind, like, overnight success takes 10 years. And I'm only going into year 3, and not for nothing, but year 1 wasn't even a full year. Right, you took a little break in there. I took a long break, because I just needed to take a step back and rethink the way I wanted to do this, because I didn't like the way it sounded. And if I don't like the way it sounds, I know somebody who's listening isn't going to like the way it sounds. So I'm always working on it. I'm always building. I'm trying to make room for I'm always trying to improve, and there's always room for improvement. So there's a lot of stuff. So,
and while you're on the timeline, do you have a 5-year plan for this podcast?
Yes, 5-year plan. I'm looking to be within 5 years.
Now, is this starting from now 5 years or 2.5 years from now?
From now, 5 years.
Okay.
No, 2.5 years from now, which would make 5 years.
Where are we at?
So we're pretty much, because I have a goal now. Not that I didn't have a goal, but I have an actual set number goal. I am trying to monetize the podcast, because I would love to dedicate more time to this, to give people more good content, quality content, instead of, having a full-time job and then trying to fit it in my schedule when I can. And this way, within those 5 years, my goal is to just monetize the podcast, have over 1,000 downloads in an episode. It's going to be an uphill battle, but I think with all the information at our fingertips, I think I can figure it out and do whatever I got to do to campaign and get more followers and grow the platform.
So with your 5-year plan, you mentioned monetizing it. Obviously, everyone would like to reap the benefits of the work that they do. And your full-time job is what?
I'm a helicopter mechanic for a medevac helicopter company.
And that's something you do enjoy doing, right?
Yeah, I really do enjoy fixing the thing when it breaks, seeing it help save lives, pretty much.
Is it comfortable to say that you may be just more passionate about podcasting?
Oh yeah. I think a good majority of people who are listening right now, or just in general, would agree that being your own boss is probably the goal for them. Nobody wants to be told to do something.
Can't call somebody boss. It's like calling them daddy.
Yeah, I think a lot of, especially in the climate that we have right now, a lot of people talk about freedom, and we live in a very capitalistic society, in the sense of everybody's trying to make a buck, and a lot of people are working dead end jobs, or working jobs that they may be making 6 figures, but they're miserable.
It could still be a dead end job.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in that unhappy state, it's dead end.
Exactly. We've talked about this. My previous job, I was working no less than 10-hour days. that was the least amount of time I was working a day. If not, it was 12 hours, and I was making great money.
If anyone wants to find out more about that, listen to the 6 Steps of Positivity.
Yeah, there you go. I was making great money, but I was miserable. You heard Arlene talk about it. My wife, she's saying we barely saw each other. She was working 3 jobs. I'm working crazy overtime at this one job. Yeah, we had a great amount of income coming in, but at the end of the day, money is not everything. I don't care what rapper says. People who broke say money ain't everything. Like, no, like we have money, but it's not. It was not a good quality of life. I'm working a lot less now, not making as much, but I am a billion times happier in what I'm doing now, and I'm actually doing it to help people.
Right. This isn't just for your passion of podcasting. It's for your passion of, assisting, shedding light on things that you find to be important and positive.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy who doesn't practice what he preaches, and we always need to better ourselves. But if I can make a positive impact, then that's what I'm trying to move toward.
Right, and it's like a thin line for you to walk here, because obviously we want you to be able to monetize this, but then again, staying positive, it's hard to make money in that realm. So with that said, what would you consider selling out for monetary gain, and how can you prevent that?
What would I consider selling out?
Yeah, if you have an example of it, or something that you would feel that is against your morals, but it's all for the sake of gaining more money from the podcast. Is there a way that you see yourself selling out, or seen other podcasts selling out, and how can you prevent that? Because obviously sometimes when someone comes in with a big check, they might want to shake things up. You can't always say no. Sometimes you have to make a what do you call it?
There's a moral line. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying.
So where do you see yourself in that?
I think I morally, I wouldn't say I'm incorruptible. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean?
It is now.
I see a lot of the crap going on in politics, and all of it has to do with money, and money corrupts everything. And as much as I'd love to say I wouldn't take any money, I think there would be a very fine line that I would have to draw in order for me to accept money from certain areas. You know what I mean? So I think as far as selling out, I think I would sell out a little bit, depending on how much.
In a positive way.
Yeah, depending on how much money it is, because I know I would use that money towards almost counterweighting the negatives that might come with that money acceptance. I wouldn't do it in the sense of like I'd have to change basically the format. I wouldn't let a big time I don't know what the word is, like
conglomerate company.
Yeah, I wouldn't let a big company come over and be like, hey, we want to buy you out and give me a ton of money, but I would have to change the format of my podcast to be all about politics and leaning left or right. I wouldn't do I would refuse 100%.
What if, hypothetical, if it were some sort of partnership, whereas they're not, just buying the Limelight Highlight podcast, they're saying, hey, here's money we would like to invest. We also want to just steer the direction slightly left, which could be you're not going to, make it all about politics, but they're going to say, hey, we have certain guests we would suggest that you bring on, things like that. Is that something you'll be interested in?
I would, because I naturally lean left in the sense of whatever they label left. But I also have conservative views as well. And as long as I'm allowed to bring an opposing or an opposition type guest on, then I wouldn't see any problem with that. Because even the left, let's just say if it was left-leaning politician coming on the podcast trying to give an agenda, I would definitely, one, play devil's advocate, and two, I would harp pretty hard on why they're not left enough, or because a lot of the quote unquote left politicians are more centric than they are left, and not as progressive as they claim to be.
So, what would you if just kind of on the spot, but is there someone who is from like an opposing thought process that a notable person, celebrity, maybe even not celebrity, maybe somebody personally, that you would like to have on here, to have those conversations with someone who is, obviously of different mindset than you are, Is there someone that you would have in mind if you had your pick of the litter?
I would like to have Ben Shapiro on, just because